Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Hey, folks, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for being with us. This is hour number 2. We are so glad that you could be here at the intersection of conservative ideas and reality, where we are building a liberty machine. So welcome back to the program. We have on the phone Senator Bryan King is back with us. This is the second time that he's been with us this week. Senator, welcome.
Well, good. I guess I'm trying to make up for missing last Friday and having a mix-up on my time schedule. So maybe
you got to let that go. Quick. You're being too hard on yourself.
It was my mistake, and so I guess now you're actually maybe turning into a little bit of a liberal here because I made a mistake. You're rewarding me with 2 slots this next week. So I mean, you should be punishing me maybe somehow, but. Paul, I don't know about
Yeah, I've got to start incentivizing. Yeah, I know.
You're going to have to. Yeah,
I'm caving.
You're incentivizing bad behavior by politicians, but when they don't show up.
I just took one puff of that Marble Rock last week. Just one. I didn't know it would have this much effect on me so quickly.
Yeah.
Listen, I am so upset that your bill to require people to disclose whether or not they're getting money from Medicaid providers failed yesterday in that House committee. Were you surprised?
No, I mean, you kind of get the feeling of, when I went around the committee trying to do my homework, I know that a lot of the Medicaid providers were, they were circling around this deal, the lobbying, the big money, and, it paid off for them because now the public is not going to be able to know, for example, we know how much taxpayer money we give them, how many hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars, but yet it's going to be secret that how much they spend to get your tax dollars. So.
I talked a lot about it the last hour because to me at this point, I've got the roll call list in front of me, and I can see the ones who voted no on this bill. New Republican former Democrat Jeff Wardlaw, he voted no on this bill, and he's also the chair of the Public Health Committee. And so I feel like State Representative Jeff Wardlaw, and I'm going to ask him on the record the next time I see him, if he's getting money from a Medicaid entity. What other were there other reasons that they were saying why this was bad? Obviously, they weren't saying we don't agree with this because we're getting money. They're not that stupid. But how did it go when you were presenting the bill?
Well, I think it was more the behind the scenes because I think if you watch the video, I never got one question. I don't think I ever got a question about how it worked. Of course, this is the 4th time it's been tried in some different form in front of different committees. But, you'll just have to ask each one of them individually what they thought. But you had the questions from the Hospital Association that this was going to make so much reporting going to happen from doctor to doctor. And me and Representative Miller had to clear that up, said no. This just means if they do business with the, Medicaid provider, does business with the legislator, somebody on the boards of commission, governor's staff. There's a whole litany of people down there that could be influenced on policy that could be making something work for somebody and trying to do something for them. And as I said in the committee, I said, folks, if there wasn't these headlines coming out of all these people with money, getting personal money, if we hadn't had the headlines, then I wouldn't even be down there.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even be talking about it. And, I think I even said the question of maybe GIF needs to be looked into. Is that a problem now? Well, I think it is.
Yeah, I know. It is, and I know that the bill to end GIF, it failed in the Rules Committee or whatever.
We didn't need a bill to end GIF. You just do it budget-wise. Here's some things. There may be some GIF. There may not be. I didn't file any GIF bills this time. It doesn't mean that something couldn't be worked out if they got got some GIF, but the big reason is they're in money trouble. They're in budget trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea, I keep saying this thing, the idea you have a $5.4 billion machine and you do it with 4 months left to go. We don't know the new figures, but say 3 months left to go, and you have basically zero surplus. I mean, you need at least a $200 million cushion. Because, Paul, I can remember coming in 2007, and Governor Huckabee, not Governor Beebe, he loves to take credit for it, but Governor Beebe, sorry, you got a big gift from Governor Huckabee. And left $1 billion surplus, and within 2.5 years, that was gone.
Yeah.
$1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it just bad budgeting, bad spending priorities.
Well, I want to get to the budgeting. I want to get to the budgeting here in a minute because it's going to go perfect with this discussion on the judiciary bill that passed out of the Senate, surprisingly to me, yesterday. But I want to put a bow on your Medicaid bill, disclosure bill, and that it failed. And I want to just read one more time the no votes. You've got Republican Jeff Wardlaw voting no, John Eubanks voting no, Jim Dotson a no, Trevor Drown a no, State Representative Michelle Gray voted against this bill, Dwight Tosh voted against this bill, Justin Gonzalez voted against the bill, and Kenneth Ferguson voted against the bill. And they're on the state agencies committee, and you just wonder. Every one of them now, I'm sorry, they need to be asked whether or not, they just need to be asked on the record. Are you doing business with a Medicaid entity?
Or just ask why they voted against it.
Yeah, or you could just do that, I guess.
So, yeah, and I mean, that's for them to answer. And so, but yeah, that leads into another, because as we talked about, Paul, I was quoted in the Democrat Gazette 2 years ago that when they started the session, Governor Hutchinson came in. I talked with Chief of Staff Michael Amaro. I talked to other legislators down there. I said, if we keep going like we're going with the spending side of Medicaid, all these problems, prisons, everything like this, if we don't do something about spending, we're going to be in trouble in a couple years. Well, you know what? I mean, I wish I was wrong, but we are. We don't even have a surplus right now. But yet, when I passed that bill the other day, I said there's two things have to happen. One is the policy, that is to incarcerate people on their fourth time to prison, 80% of their sentence. Because crime is one of the biggest issues I hear about out there. You had the situation down there in Little Rock, tragically, a guy that had been arrested. I think he had been arrested, let's see here, 24 times, I think, over a period of time. He just got out of prison, turns around the next day, steals the truck, and then turns around and hits a bicyclist going the wrong way over a bridge. And it killed him, too, but it killed the other innocent person.
Yeah, I've got that story. Police, North Little Rock police said a man released from prison on Tuesday was driving a stolen pickup truck. He had struck and killed a bicyclist on Wednesday on the Main Street Bridge in North Little Rock. John Fitzgerald Blanks, 53, drove a Ford F-150 the wrong way onto the northbound side of the bridge about 2:30 p.m. and struck Ricky Anderson, 52, of North Little Rock, as Anderson was riding a bicycle north. Blanks was thrown from the pickup, and it crashed into a concrete barrier. This guy, he was a criminal history going all the way back to 1996. He was convicted of robbery in June of 2013, sentenced to 5 years in prison. So he hadn't completed his sentence. He was let out and immediately steals a car, goes down to Little Rock, gets drunk, gets in a fender bender, flees the scene of an accident, and then kills a bicyclist. I mean, that's what happened. And so this bill that passed out of the Senate yesterday would require, after you've your fourth incident, you're going to serve at least 80% of your sentence, right?
Yeah. And that, you talk to prosecutors, you talk to law enforcement. The legislature, Governor Beebe, they passed a bill in 2011 called to Increase Public Safety Act. It did the complete opposite. It helped cause the crime problem we had today. I mean, once again, misleading, deceiving bill title down there, because I didn't vote for it. I was one of the few people who didn't vote for it. I said, this is not going to work. And another thing, too, is when they started a big program, as they do multiple times down there by Bad Spending BB, that they don't have a plan to pay for it. I was like, how are you going to pay for this, all this? Oh, Paul, I'm sure you've heard this. Oh, don't worry about it. It's going to pay for itself. We're going to save all this money. We didn't save anything. We spend more than ever. We got a bigger crime problem than ever. Now, the same person that was a co-sponsor helped with passing that, governor's nephew, Jeremy Hutchison, is criticizing my plan, but that you don't know how you're going to pay for it. I sit there and said in the committee, when we went back and forth, I said in the well that there's two things have to happen to this. There's the one's got to be the policy, the next thing's got to be the funding. And I'm throwing out some things, and some of them may not be the most popular things in the world, but to try and fund it and actually make our streets and communities and cities safe or safer than the direction we're headed. But for Jeremy Hutchison to sit there and criticize after he did what he did in 2011, he admitted it was a failure. I didn't vote for it, was criticized by, bad budgeting BB. And, for him to do that, and then you have Governor Hutchison saying what I'm wanting to do and try and plan and propose is not physically responsible. And this is the governor that's now we have records number of people on Medicaid. We have its worst crime problem I believe we've ever had. And he can't quit troubles,
and he can't quit spending.
Me.
Yeah, he criticizes you. Asa cannot quit spending.
This governor has spent more in Arkansas history. No governor has spent more in Arkansas history than Asa Hutchison. And there's record numbers of people on Medicaid in Arkansas, welfare, and he somehow thinks he can criticize somebody on spending. I'm just like,
yeah. Well, so I was in the room. I've got the audio. I don't have it queued up or anything, but I mean I've got it to reference because it was fascinating. There was it passed the Senate. It was a good vote. You had allies. You had allies that I would say, and this is just me saying this, so you don't have to agree with it, but I would say maybe some Republicans that normally maybe are not with you. Like Eddie Joe Williams voted for this. Jason Rapert voted for this, along with, your fellow conservatives like Linda Collins Smith and Scott Flippo and others. You know what I mean? But it just seemed like when it came to trying to keep our streets more safe than they are now, recognizing that we do have a crime problem, when Jeremy Hutchison stood up there and said, we don't have $20 million, he was threatening that the session was going to have to be extended, and yet it passed. And I got a feeling that they're going to try to torpedo this down in the House.
Sure they are. The governor has already been quoted as saying he's going to veto it. There's not a plan. I keep telling him. I've met with him earlier this year. I said, you've got a spending problem. And once again, they're not addressing any of that. I mean, they talk about these little things around the edges, and they nibble around the edges. But the reality is that they haven't done anything major or substantial. I mean, we tried to move, and it's something as small as moving a bunch of government BS jobs over there at the State Board Election Commissioner staff. We tried to do that, and appropriated levels would be $10 million, and real money would be $1 million or so, at least, even on that little of measure, and the governor fought us on it. I mean, we passed a bill the other day that we require these, or I did, working with the Secretary of State's office, passed it out of the Senate. It goes to the House, goes to the committee. I hope it gets through. And I'm hearing that they're throwing a static about it now, unfortunately, is that Arkansas, the Secretary of State has to spend money to advertise for these ballot initiatives. Well, we feel like that if you've got the money to pay these canvassers, which is up to $5 a signature now or something, and put all this money behind it, casinos, whatever, that you should have to pay for the advertising required by law. If it would have worked like we said, and they would have paid their bills, it would have saved $1.7 million last election year. You know what? I don't know that it's going to pass the House now, from what I hear.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like I said, if you can't get these smaller amounts, which is not really small, talking about $1 million to $10 million, can't get the governor to go along with those things, what else is there? I mean, now the DHS budget bill is well over $8 billion now.
Yeah,
A few years ago, Paul, it was $6 billion.
It's unbelievable.
So
I mean, yeah, we've got some big problems, and it really, I think what can fix them is just the average Arkansan figuring out that these Republicans down there are, they're passing legislation and advocating for ideas in their names that they completely disagree with. But you have a media that never really wants to report the facts. But on this issue of budget and spending reasonably, back to the Medicaid transparency bill that failed in the House State Agencies Committee. I was talking with a state representative that voted against the bill because I was like, why did you do this? And this is what he said. Quote, I'm for transparency, but this legislation was for bigger government, and the money is not there in DHS to oversee this. And word was we would have to come back to find the money in a special session since it was not budgeted earlier. Unless I missed something, that's what I heard, and I was opposed. It had some good points, but the price tag to the taxpayer didn't justify the need for the bill. Now, Brian, I just want you to respond to that because I got a feeling that what this state representative was being told was a complete lie.
But and if they believe it, I don't know what to say. Here's the thing. What if it shouldn't, you would think it wouldn't be that much. We don't have that many medical professionals, just like Joe Farrar is a physical therapist, and as a business, okay, some of them are married to doctors, okay, but there's not 115 people down there that are in the medical profession. List the ones that are either married or in the medical profession. I mean, are they worried about such a long list? And here's the thing about DHS. Let me tell you something. These are the same people that wasted $60 million on a system that doesn't work. And you want to believe whatever they say? These are the same people at DHS that put literally 40,000, 50,000 people on Arkansas Medicaid we were paying out that either didn't live in the state, were dead, in prison, fictitious identities. And somehow they want to say, let me say something, Paul, they want to hide what's going on.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, DHS, if this bill were to become law and a DHS employee was getting money from a Medicaid entity, they'd have to disclose that as well. DHS can't be used for anything. This would directly affect them because I guarantee you there's employees that are getting essentially legal kickbacks. I guarantee you there are.
Yeah, well, we've got more news on DHS coming back on them that they say this is so bad and such a problem. Well, maybe we do need to know. If it's that bad a problem and there's going to be that many records, then maybe we do need to know.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe, yeah, I agree. Senator Bryan King, hey, I appreciate it so much, you coming on, and we got to go to break, though, but just stay strong down there because I know it's rough.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
All right, thank you. Folks, got to go to break. Back in a minute.
This is Common Sense and Liberty. I'm Donnie Copeland. Well, week 9 of the Arkansas State Legislature is in the books, and the results are a reduction in transparency, a strong opposition to school choice, and 8 tax/fee increases. As the old saying goes, with Republicans like this, who needs Democrats? I'm Donnie Copeland for Common Sense and Liberty.
Arkansas small businesses are tired of taxes that are too high and regulations that work as obstacles to small business success. If you own a small business, it's time to take